everybody, and welcome back to another episode here on Sticks and Bones with your ghost host, Chelsea and Tenn. Hi, Tenn. How are you?
I am good. The sun is shining. It's almost July, which
It,
I pretty sure I just said it's almost June, like
I know.
a while ago.
Time's going by really fast, and
I'm confused.
my birthday is this weekend. It's July 2nd, and I'm highly confused. I've just been so busy working that I looked at the calendar and I was
Yes.
like, holy fuck, my birthday is coming up. Does anyone ever do that? Where you're just
Yes.
like trying to distract yourself with life, and then all of a sudden you look at the calendar and now you're turning 31. So it's like,
It really
whoa.
sneaks up on you and just like bashes you in the head. It's like, hello, don't forget to me. But you are turning 31. We all turned 30 with
31.
you. So, what did you learn for your first year of 30?
Okay, so I will tell you. But I just want to say this, and I said this for those of you that turned 30 with me last year. Congrats, welcome back. We're now all turning 31. Even if you're older than me or younger than me, we're all 31 now. But I want to repeat what I learned in my 30s, and I'll talk about 31. Your 20s are for learning and making mistakes. So if
Yes.
you're in your 20s, which I know a lot of you are, please, this is the time to make mistakes. Kiss all the frogs. We're going to be talking about love magic today. You got to kiss all the frogs sometimes to get to the prince or the princess, whoever you want to be,
The royalty.
or the kings and the queens. Maybe you want a king or a queen, not a prince or princess. So make mistakes in your 20s, live it up, have a good time. 30 was a very interesting year.
Okay.
Um, I think when I turned 30, I didn't give a shit about what people thought about me anymore. I
Did
really
it just
didn't.
did it click on? Was it like midnight on your birthday? You're like, fuck it all.
I'm not even joking. I kind of think so because in my 20s, I spent my whole 20s trying to appease other people and please other people and do what
Hmm.
people were telling me to do. And then
Okay.
when I was like in my late 20s and I hit 30, I was like, no, this is who the fuck I am. I
Hmm.
love talking to spirits. I study spirit communication. I love ancient magic. I'm an
Yes.
Italian folk practitioner, and I don't give a shit about what you guys say about me. Um, because this is who I am, bitch. I love sitting in the cemetery and I want to talk to the ghosts. And I love video games. I don't care if I'm a 30-year-old woman playing video games. Who cares?
Just girly things.
Just things for the girls. But yeah, I think in my 30s, I learned not to care and what boundaries are. Better
Ah,
boundaries.
yes. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries galore.
So I'm excited to see what 31 awaits. Tenn, I know you are on the edge of 29. You're going to be hitting 30.
When
So
when I tell you I am army crawling to that finish line, and maybe we'll do a countdown. I don't know.
we
I kind
should.
of just want to be 30. But I I don't know what comes next for me. I mean, I've talked about this before, but like as a kid, I was just like, I want my PhD. I got that before I was 30. I made my dream come true, but now what? Like,
You do other fun things. Like I plan on starting my book up again this year. Yes, I'm going to be writing a book on spirit
yes.
communication, heavily focused on Hecate. So, it's a book actually that is near and dear to my heart, and I can't wait for other people to have it so they can experience how I do spirit communication, my meditation sessions. This is all part of my own craft and things in ancient magic. So, I will be seeking Tenn's help for book writing because you just got your doctorate and I don't even remember how to do a bibliography. It's been that long.
I
You're
I
gonna have to help me
when I
format.
tell you I blacked out for my bibliography and I got it back with edits and it was like I was going through my bibliography, making sure the in text had a buddy at the end. And bless their hearts, one of my advisors at the end was like, I put like three citations out of alphabetical order. And she was like, these go with the P's. And I was like,
Oh,
they
well,
sure do.
you
What
know
are they
what?
doing? What are they doing with the K's? Couldn't tell you.
It's not your fault because you know what? After a while, like this is why you need like an editor because after
Yeah.
a while your brain is just seeing the same thing over and over again and you're not picking up on the flaws. So that's why it's always good to have someone else look into things. Anyway, we're not here to teach you how to write a paper, but I'm definitely gonna need Tenn's help. I was thinking about that in the car. I'm like, oh my God, I have to write a whole ass book and I forgot how to write a bibliography. I haven't been in college since 2014. So I haven't written a paper in a very long time.
And I
I'll
just
do.
finished writing the paper.
Yeah, the paper of the century, which I'm excited to read when you get it.
I know when I get a hard copy, man, it'll be out there. Yeah, it's uploaded. So once it's like available online, I'll let all the good people know where to find it.
Yes.
You want to
Oh,
read about my theories?
my secrets. I'm going to see my Italian family this weekend for my birthday, so I wanna actually vlog like all the food and how people act at my house. Like I think people don't believe me when I talk about my New Jersey Italian family, so I am planning on doing a whole like video montage of my mom told me what's on the menu.
Oh, what's
Dude,
on the
ready?
menu?
Are you guys ready? This is what happens when you come to an Italian barbecue. And then we got to get into Aphrodite, but hold on.
Yes.
We need to know these things. So, in the afternoon, she's doing burgers, hot dogs, whatever,
Love stuff.
salad, pasta salads. We do appetizers first. So, my dad makes bread, probably going to do like chicken wings or something, chips, dips, all the stuff. And
Oh,
then you eat lunch. You come to my house, you get appetizers, all the
yes.
appetizers till you're full. And then you don't want lunch, but then you have to have it because it's like homemade burgers and hot dogs.
Oh,
So then
yes.
you do that. And then you got all the pasta salads, salad, etc. And then my parents cook Italian dinner. They're
Oh
making
my
chicken
God.
franchise, penny
Oh.
with vodka sauce.
Oh.
Shit, what else were they having? I think they were having eggplant. Um,
Ooh, loves me the eggplant.
yes. And then we have dessert.
Oh,
Okay. This is a barbecue. Like I am like, what do we my mom, we always are like, why do we have so much food? And she's like, what if there's not enough? And then we always have mounds of food left over. There's always enough food.
what if there's not enough?
It's an
Let's
Italian's
feed
biggest fear.
50.
It's an Italian's biggest fear. What if there's not enough food?
Yo, that might be something like in like a dream premonition or prophecy. Like if there's not enough food, I wonder if that's in like your folk book.
Well, this is a good segue because actually today we're not only talking about Aphrodite, which by the way is going to be like base information, but I feel like it's things that people still don't know about her.
Yes.
Tenn's going to go on her academic blackout. But after we talk about Aphrodite, I'm going to be talking about love magic because it's heavy in my folk practice. And I am also going to talk about the warning signs of you being casted on with a love spell. And it is actually comes in the form of a dream. It's a very interesting dream, but I'm definitely
Yes,
going to talk about it.
it is. Yeah. So we will be pairing mythology, ancient magic. I got a few spells from the ancient papyrus and the Greek magical papyri to talk about love magic today. And really just focusing on, love then and now and why love magic might fall under curses.
Well, it actually does. Even in my own Italian folk practice, it's found under the curses section. And I just really quickly
Mhm.
before we keep going, I want to reference the book that I'm pulling from, which by the way is now available in our store.
Whoop,
Italian
whoop.
Folk Magic, Ruse Kitchen Witchery by Mary Grace Ferrun. This is an excellent, I've said it a million times, beginner
Mhm.
Italian folk book. I pull a lot of my information from here combined with my own ancestral practice. Great if you're new and you're trying to figure out what's going on. But caution of warning to the love magic because I had a love spell go wrong that I've talked about in other episodes. So we're learning correct today. But we're gonna be talking about love magic on all levels and like why is it considered a curse and
The
the
good,
darker.
the good, the bad, and the ugly with love. Love is so multifaceted. So we'll dive into
Yes.
that because, Chelsea and I went on a whole ass call earlier talking about all the things about love, almost cried together about Achilles. So we'll get there.
Oh my God, I forgot we even mentioned Achilles. Oh yeah, there's so many things we got to get into it because we got a hefty
Yes.
podcast episode. So buckle up. We have to talk about Aphrodite first because she is the Greek goddess of love.
Yeah, she
And
is.
we're diving into it today. So let's get moving. Aphrodite, here we
Move,
come.
moving and shaking everybody all aboard. All right. So Aphrodite is, of course, the goddess of love and beauty, but she is also the goddess of lust, pleasure, passion, and procreation. So fertility aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And in art, she's often paired with her son Eros, whose Roman counterpart is going to be Cupid. And shells are a major symbol of hers. Sacred animals, if you are interested, include the swan, the dove, and sparrow. And her plants are myrtle, apple tree, rose, and poppy. So,
That
who
makes
is she?
sense.
So, who is she? Hesiod attributes her name as meaning sea foam from the Greek aphros, and in her mythology, she does possess a magic girdle that she would lend to unhappy maidens who suffered from unrequited love, as this held the power of inspiring affection for the wearer. Love magic on its own. So,
So you can what you're telling me is we can enchant our girdles.
yes.
I never thought to do that. You can enchant your shapewear.
Yeah.
This is breaking news.
This is breaking news.
I've never done that before. Like if you're going to a wedding or especially, okay, what's coming to my mind is, like when you're single and you're going to a wedding, okay?
Ugh, yeah.
It's the worst fucking thing ever. Like when everyone else is in a couple and you're like at the table and you're like, la la la, and the slow dance is happening and you're like, what do I do? So maybe the girlies, and anyone could be a girly, don't care how you identify, need to start enchanting their undergarments
Oh, yeah.
to draw in the other single people at the wedding. That happened to me recently where I was in the bridal party and I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Oh, this is fun.
Weddings shit on single people.
Yeah, it's
Really do.
why? Like we get you're happy and married now, but like don't rub it in.
I'm just here for the food and the drinks. That's what I'm here for.
I'm here for the open bar.
The snacks.
But so with that, we're going to talk about that because that kind of falls under love magic. But of course, she is going to be married to Hephaestus, who is known as the blacksmith in Greek mythology. He is often shown making the thunderbolts of Zeus. So let's talk about her birth, because while we know about her birth, a lot of people might not know exactly where she comes from.
Get ready to ruffle some feathers. I feel like I need to have a drum roll. Anytime we're about to say something mind-blowing about a Greek god, I feel like I need to introduce it now in a very special way.
Yeah, I think I need some fanfare.
I don't have a drum roll. Also, I just spilt my coffee all over my white pillow that I'm sitting with. I just love this for me.
So in her birth, Hesiod considers her to belong to older gods, and her origin in terms of her parentage is obscure because we got a lot of stories going on, a lot of people talking.
Right.
Some myths say that she's the daughter of Zeus and a sea nymph, Dione. But one of the most famous myths, and many of you might know this, actually tells of Uranus and when he was castrated by his son Kronos, who is Zeus's dad. And when his blood mingles into the Mediterranean Ocean, Aphrodite comes out of it. That is how she is born, with genitals falling into the Mediterranean. Pause for fanfare.
I mean, it makes sense. I abide by that level of mythology and that version of mythology. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. When water drops that rolled down her hair hit the bottom of the shell that she was standing on, they actually turned into pearls, and she walks ashore the island of Cyprus. Now, it is actually believed that she was destined to come ashore a Greek island, likely in the Cyclades, but the winds at the time pushed her to walk ashore Cyprus further into the Eastern Mediterranean world. And this beach actually exists today. It is on the west coast of Cyprus. It is beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous. Like there's so much local folklore around this beach that if you swim around the rock one time, you're going to have eternal beauty. And if you swim around the rock 3 times, just extra stuff happens to you. But if you guys ever go to Cyprus, like please be a very experienced swimmer to go ahead and do this.
Well, so would you say, because we've talked about a lot of worship and things that, if are available to you could do for the gods, would you say this is a trip that most people should take if they're like devotees to Aphrodite and it's accessible to them? Because I feel like I want to do it.
If it is accessible to you, yes, because the site that I'm going to be mentioning next is actually one of her biggest, most profound, most talked about ancient sanctuaries in the Eastern Mediterranean world. And many people in the ancient times would have taken pilgrimages there. So if it is accessible, I 100% say take a trip to Cyprus. I was lucky enough to work there for a few years, and honestly, I am looking forward to going there one day with Kev.
Yeah, I would love to go. Like this is my thing where I want to go to Greece and I want to experience all of the sacred sites, and especially for Aphrodite because I do worship her really, really heavily. I feel like it's just one thing I need to do. So I need to submit a petition to Cyprus.
So there is a sanctuary to her, and it is located in Paleopaphos, which is modern Kuklia. And it's known as the sanctuary to Aphrodite Paphia. And this site is really interesting because it does actually claim to be her birthplace, where she walked ashore, and it does consider herself to be a birthplace. So there was a massive sanctuary here. It was well known throughout the centuries. And this specific site at Aphrodite Paphia, the sanctuary there, is mentioned by Homer in the Odyssey prior to it being confirmed by archaeological evidence. So mythological writings were already denoting where it was and everything, and we have later authors talking about it. And it was only until archaeologists went and dug there that they were like, oh, this is the site that was mentioned. So it's absolutely fascinating.
That is really interesting.
So there are figurines at the site, female figurines that date to the 3rd millennium BCE, but you cannot say that is Aphrodite showing up at 2000 BCE. We can just say that at that time period, the people of Cyprus were worshiping this female goddess, and she was having some cultic activity there. So for a rough timeline for everybody, at 2000 BCE, we have evidence of her cultic worship to a female divinity on the island. And by 700 BCE, Homer is stating that it is to Aphrodite. But we're still missing like 1300 years, give or take.
Yeah, right. We're like, what happened between those 1300 years? We don't know.
A lot of time.
We don't know.
Big question mark. And this site would be in use uninterrupted until 391 CE, when it is shut down by Theodosius I. So Homeric hymns actually make mention of this site. We have Strabo, Pausanias, Tacitus, and Ampulius, who is the writer of the Golden Ass in mythology, all write about this site. In Homeric hymns, she is known as the Queen of Cyprus, and she's known as the Goddess of Cyprus, which I just absolutely love reading those hymns. And it's like, she is the Queen of Cyprus.
So for the good listeners, you're saying Aphrodite originated in Cyprus.
She was born on Cyprus. Did she originate there? That is, that leads me to my next point, where Cyprus's location, little geography time. Cyprus's location is in the far eastern Mediterranean, right off the coast of Turkey, Syria, Israel, Egypt. It's right in that little corner. Because of Cyprus's location and its extensive trade networks during the Bronze Age, because of copper being mined there, there have been an incredible amount of influence coming in from the east and coming in from the south from Egypt, coming in from the west from Greece. So right. Cyprus is just kind of like a big old melting pot at this point, with interconnections of that makes sense. All of these ancient cultures. So there are arguments that, this cultic worship of Aphrodite and this goddess herself does have influence from Syro-Palestine, does have influence from Mesopotamia and the Levant. But a lot of people will say, oh, Inanna is Aphrodite.
No.
While there's synchronicities and they're very, very similar, they are not the same. Inanna could have influenced, but Inanna is not Aphrodite.
No, and we've talked about that in the Roman Greek versus Roman god episode. I think it's the perfect way to put it. Poseidon is not Neptune, and Neptune is not Poseidon. While they share synchronicities and might have similar iconography, very similar iconography, they are the same divinity, and it's not respectful to call them the same thing. So while we could look at Isis, we'll look at Isis one day.
Yes.
Mother Mary, there's just a lot of synchronicities between a lot of goddesses, but they still are their own being that have their own culture, own worship, own belief system. So synchronicities, but different.
Very different. And she's known to have some very famous lovers, which include, of course, Ares, Dionysus, Hermes.
I always think that one is so like, just like knowing Hermes, it's just a very fascinating
coupling,
yes.
Poseidon and Zeus. And she does have quite a few mortal lovers as well, but one of the most famous is going to be Adonis, who is a Cypriot youth. And it is believed that he met her when she was bathing in a spring on the west coast of Cyprus. And this area is now known as the Baths of Aphrodite. I did not get to go there. It's on my bucket list still.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going together.
We got to go
to the Bath of Aphrodite.
And there's a whole backstory at who Adonis is and the role he plays and where he might come from. But that is for a deep dive later on. And It is said that Aphrodite and Adonis were both at the site of Idalion, which is more central Cyprus.
Mhm.
And that is actually where I got to dig and work for a few years. And Idalion was where he was killed either by a jealous Ares or a vengeful Apollo in disguise. So the jury's kind of
And
out on who done it.
Apollo and his mythology.
Gets them every time.
He doesn't take well to scorned lovers, like unrequited love, scorned love. Like he,
So this, I believe Aphrodite had done something to one of his children.
oh
So
yeah,
it
well, that
was
makes sense.
it was vengeful in that sense. And Ares, on the other hand, may have disguised himself as a boar because he was jealous of their relations.
Mm-hmm.
So he is likely killed on the hills near Idalion, and from his blood comes the anemone flower.
I love that. I always think of Finding Nemo.
I literally just had to push through that word, and I was like, I hope I said it right.
Oh, I don't know how to say it. Anemone. A minute. Never mind. We're not going to make
Nope.
this. Nope. We're just going to keep moving.
So, because of his death, there's actually a Adonia festival, and this is celebrated every year around midsummer, so kind of around now. And this would actually celebrate and be a whole ass festival going over the death and funerary rites of Adonis because Aphrodite's pain was absolutely felt throughout Cyprus.
Yeah.
They were the lord and lady. So to honor him is the Adonia festival. And Ovid actually recounts this, and he writes, after the death of Adonis, Aphrodite declares she will institute a festival of mourning in Kypros, which is Cyprus. Memorials of my sorrow, Adonis, shall endure, each passing near your death, repeated in the hearts of men, shall reenact my grief of my lament. So,
Cry.
this was actually celebrated throughout the Eastern Mediterranean. We have evidence of it occurring in Athens. And women would plant Adonis gardens, so certain herbs and plants that would be associated with him. And they would plant these on their roofs as they lamented his death. They would go through mourning. And it is actually written that there may have been a reenactment of a funeral where they would take these vegetables from their gardens. They would take images of Adonis and they would go and bury them.
So hold on before you go on. This is actually something people can still do today. Like if you are a devotee to Aphrodite or you want to find something that celebrates her, even though this is a mourning, you can absolutely adapt these practices into your own. And I always love adapting an ancient tradition when I'm in my worship, even though it's really hard to modernize things. I think that's pretty easy to do. If you have a garden, you can bury pictures of Adonis.
Yeah, you can bring something, if you're planting certain vegetables, you can grow those and then in his honor. Or, there's other lamentations or funerals that you can modernize in a sense. When we cover the cult of Isis, they do something very similar in terms of Isis and Osiris.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, like I was thinking, especially because it's midsummer, I'm actually gardening soon. So it might actually be something that I do to have a little something for Aphrodite and Adonis because, I do worship her so heavily. And I think it's just a really nice tradition, if accessible to you, to have. And it's something that the ancients practice. So I'm sure, it goes, like I said, respect and understanding traditions goes a long way in Hellenism and worship, even in modern day.
Yeah, and I mean, she has so many ties to magic and, love magic and everything, not only in Greece, but also in Italy because of her son Aeneas, who is the mythical hero of Troy and a claimed ancestor of the Roman people. So she is used heavily in love magic. So, Chelsea, how could somebody use love magic?
Are we switching into love magic now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, I wasn't ready. I don't have my notes. Yeah, so it's funny because I actually do a lot of love magic with Aphrodite. It's something that she teaches me heavily. But I want to make a caveat to this. There's different types of love magic. So there's
Oh,
magic
yes.
around self-love, there's love magic that's consensual between you and a partner, there's attraction magic to attract someone towards you.
The enchanted girdle.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we're doing this episode around midsummer because there's a lot of traditions and folk traditions that midsummer is the time to find a lover. People would actually sleep with certain types of herbs underneath their pillow to get a dream of who their soulmate is going to be. So this is found even in Ireland. They have a whole matchmaking festival in midsummer. They have a psychic that actually matchmakes people. He's like 80 something years old.
I love
So
that.
this whole tradition of midsummer being like a season of love is definitely found in multiple cultures and belief systems. I'm trying to remember the herb that people place under their pillow. I cannot. There was a few different kinds. I'm sure if you look it up somewhere, you'd be able to find it. But before I dive into love magic, this was a question that I saw that was posed online when I saw someone talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Say you weren't married right now to Kevin and you were single. Would you want to know if you could through magic who your soulmate was going to be?
Yeah.
That was a question that people were posing. Is if you slept with this herb under your pillow, like were you going to be prepared to see who your soulmate could be? Like, would you want to know?
I don't know because it's like you kind of have to go through every kind of permission slip and be okay with it. Like, do you want to know? Like, with knowledge comes so much. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
I don't know. Like, if you asked me in my 20s, I would have been like, hell yeah, girl. Because if you listen to our previous podcast episodes, it's all I focus on. Like, I was obsessed
Mm-hmm.
with trying to find my soulmate. So I don't know if I would actually want to know this time around.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like younger me. I probably would have younger, but now I'm like, I don't know because like knowing has so much responsibility.
Yes.
Because at that point, is it if you know who it is and like, you don't like them, let's just say, how do you force yourself to love somebody? And it's like, is love real at that point?
I don't know. Like, I don't think I would want to know because I'd be holding on to that for the rest of my life, like,
Mhm.
and then what if you're not receiving like an accurate message? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't think
What if the
I,
other person doesn't know and they are
yes,
off on their own and having a great time? I couldn't live with that.
100%. Like, what if they were married to somebody else?
Yeah.
I couldn't. This is 23-year-old me would be like, oh, hell yeah, bitch. I'm sleeping with those herbs under my pillow every night. Tell me who my soulmate is. But I think as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? Whatever is meant to transpire is going to transpire. And I do believe in like soulmates and fate and destiny and things like that. And I know we want to do an episode on like twin flames and soulmates one day, so we will. But I just think it's really interesting that we decided to do this episode intuitively during midsummer when all of the love magic is like happening now.
Yeah, which makes sense because Midsummer has a lot of like associations with fire. And when you think of fire, you think of like passion.
For sure. But also, I'm going to be talking about love magic today in the darker aspect of love magic, which is control and obsession.
Yeah.
Now, I've learned my lesson with love spells. I am a
Yes.
rehabilitated person from love magic. Um, for those of you that don't know, I did a really bad love spell from a Wiccan book that had no reference whatsoever. I had no idea what I was searching for, no direct, clear shot. I just was like looking for anything, taking my shot in the dark. And it actually brought back a really toxic ex of mine for like 5 to 6 years. So
No,
yeah, it
you
was
served
bad.
your time.
I served my time in Azkaban. But anyway, so actually, what's interesting is Italian folk magic has a ton of love magic, but it falls under curses.
Which makes sense in my mind that, modern Italian folk would have it under curses because Greco-Roman practices have it under curses.
Right. And that's where my practice, remember, my folk practice is coming from what the Romans and the Greeks did. It's a combination of like the Mediterranean, and then they evolved it into hiding it under Catholicism for fear of persecution. Right. So they're still
Mm-hmm.
practicing magic, but they wouldn't call it that. It's just a superstition or things that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk about today one of the control and obsession spells, a few of them that you can find in Italian folk practice. You can practice these. I just want a disclaimer. I wouldn't do this if you have no idea what you're doing because you do not want someone to be obsessed with you, especially the wrong person.
Yeah.
And there's actually a story in here, which, by the way, I'm referencing the book that I mentioned in the beginning that I'm going to basically tell you about the author's experience with their client's obsession spell gone wrong. It actually leads to somebody's death. So,
Yeah, that is. Whew.
It is a lot. I mean, there's obviously like self-love. We talk a lot about self-love. That's a lot of like what we sell in our metaphysical store. I practice more self-love than anything.
Yes.
I've never actually casted any kind of working like this on somebody.
No, and it really seems a lot of times in the ancient sense of what survives, it is trying to get the obsession, it's trying to get that control or get somebody to fall in love, almost binding in a
Yes.
sense. So it's interesting to see how, the modern aspects and practice of it has very much ancient roots and what we can see and how we can compare it to the past times.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before too on my account, and a lot of people get up in arms because they're like, you're taking away somebody's free will.
That's
I don't,
magic.
yeah, it's magic, but I don't practice control and obsession spells. Like that goes against my moral compass, but I'm not going to shame people that do
Mhm.
because that is their practice. You can find it in a lot of different cultures and belief systems. And when I tell you some of the things you can do in Italian magic, you're going to find that it probably is similar to a lot of things that you've heard in other practices. So,
Yep.
this specific you know ritual is coming from a Neapolitan origin. This spell is done on the night of the new moon. So you'll find a lot in Italian folk practice. Lunar cycles are really important.
Hmm.
And I think that's because the ancients used to follow a lunar calendar.
Yes. Hmm.
So the woman or man who wants someone to fall madly in love with them will entrust their desires in the power of the new moon. So you will say this one prayer to the new moon, which I'm not gatekeeping, I'm just not going to recite it. So you are basically praying to the moon, which I find interesting. You
Hmm.
then go ahead and you make a form of doll. So puppets are also present in Italian folk practice. I know a lot of people are like, that's only part of voodoo. No, actually, it's found in my folk practice. Poppets are a thing. So what you would do is you would get a poppet representing the person,
Hmm.
and you do something specific with knots and binding, and you're actually binding them to you on the night of the new moon. So that's a poppet spell. I'm not going to go through it. I don't feel comfortable teaching this.
Get your poppets, ladies and gents.
So, another thing that some older folk practitioners probably have the belief is they will not go to other people's houses and eat their food. And I'll tell you why.
I mean, yeah, I believe that.
And this you can find, I know ATR, I've seen people in ATRs talking about this, like they were
Mhm.
growing up and taught not to take food from other people, especially if they practiced. So you can hide. I guess I should do a trigger warning. Trigger warning, we're going to be talking about blood, but nothing super in detail.
Mhm.
This is blood magic, and blood magic can bind you to somebody.
Yes.
So it's not a beginner practice. Listen, I can't tell you what to do, but I just want to do this if I don't know what I'm doing. So one of the things that some Italian folk practitioners do is they use wine and they use the desired person's hair and blood. It can be menstruation or it can also be another bodily fluid that's sexual.
Nope. Fill in the blank.
And they would just serve the glass of wine to their intended target, and they fall under this obsession spell. A lot of pasta sauce is disguised with this type of magic cooking. That's why a lot of these practitioners will not eat at other people's houses because you
Hmm.
just don't know what kind of spell is laced in there. And a lot of Italian folk practice is made in the kitchen. So I get that. Being a practitioner myself, like I do spells for myself all the time, like basil abundance. Yeah, hell yeah, put basil in everything. Garlic
Hmm.
protection. But you never know what people's intentions are.
Can't eat at everybody's house, man.
Yeah, so these are just a few. Some of there's a lot here, like baking a cake, taking blood from your ring finger, the one that you would use to get married, and putting
Hmm.
that in different types of food and saying certain types of things, and that can bind somebody and make them absolutely obsessed with you.
Interesting.
And also always remember the quote that cooking is the fastest way to somebody's heart, right?
Oh, oh.
Yeah, we believe that in Italian folk practice.
Now, let me ask you this question because you
Sure.
mentioned it in the previous spells that you talked about. You mentioned like man or woman in
Yeah.
terms of like anybody can do it. That's absolutely interesting because most of the love spells or binding spells, anything under love curses from the ancient world that survives is mainly intended for a female to fall in love with a male. So it's a lot of men asking for a woman to fall in love with them or to bind a woman to them.
That makes sense because when I was I think we talked about this in the Hecate episode. I saw a lot of the petitions that were documented were to Hecate were for men looking
Mhm.
for a woman,
Yeah.
which is very interesting to me
Yeah. It was
because you
always,
think it would be reverse.
it's always men. Even I have one that talks about using Aphrodite's name in her like spell name, and it would be to gain a woman as a lover.
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay, now I'm not demonizing the use of obsession control magic, but I do want to talk about this story here that I am just basically paraphrasing because it's very long.
Hmm.
Also, trigger warning, it has a mention of suicide. So if that makes you uncomfortable, you can fast forward a little bit. I should not be taking any longer than like 2 minutes. So basically, the author in this book, she talks about how she had a certain magical consultation. And this woman was referred to her because she had cast a spell on her brother-in-law, so her sister's husband. Um, she loved him, but he was married to her sister and he had children.
Oh my God.
So she did the obsession spell
Okay.
and it worked really fast. I'm not sure which one she did. So within a couple of days, they were seeing each other secretly. They were intimate. A lot of these obsession spells, by the way, like you do kind of have to seal the deal. So if you get what I'm saying,
Wink,
um,
wink.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. For it to fully work, depending on the spell that you're doing, consensually, of course. And so after they had intercourse for the first time, he was obsessed with her. See what I'm saying? You have to have the intercourse to seal the deal on some of these spells, not all of them. And after
Hmm.
this, I'm going to teach you a nice spell that anybody can do, but I want to talk about the darker parts of it.
Yeah.
So she says in this book, this man, he was a pillar in his community. He had an amazing marriage. He had children. He had a whole family. He did charities. He was like a very stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Because of this obsession spell that she had casted on him, he fell completely apart.
Oh my God.
She no longer wanted anything to do with him and he snapped because remember, she had him under her spell, like this obsession spell. So when you decide, I don't want this anymore, think how the person that's obsessed with you is going to react.
Yeah, not well.
No, because like you're the center of their universe. So
Hmm.
basically, he gets divorced from his wife. He completely snaps out of control. And ultimately, it ends up with him committing suicide.
Damn.
And the note that he had on his shirt said, if I cannot be with you, I have no reason to live.
Oof.
So these are just some of the dangers of doing these types of workings. I have no reason to do something like this. And I personally don't agree with it. It's not part of my ethics around love magic. I think, things happening naturally. I think you can do like attraction workings, like making yourself attractive, bringing things towards you that are for your highest good. But I'm not going to sit here and demonize this kind of work because some people
No.
do this.
No, it's not to demonize, but rather to educate. You have to know all
Yes.
sides of everything because while love is, gracious, love is kind, all of that kind of stuff, there is also that darker side of love. And, think about breakups, how much those hurt because love is involved. People do things out of love that, might be stupid, but they're not thinking, they're just reacting because of love. It
Yeah.
is the best thing and the worst thing at the same time.
It really is. And I only talk about this just as like a caution to air of warning because I know there's a lot of misinformation anywhere around witchcraft and blood magic. And it's a very serious thing when you are tampering with someone's like, free will. So what are some things that you can do?
Yes.
Self-love workings, bringing things towards you that are for your highest good, that align with your purpose. That's what you should focus on, in my personal opinion.
Hmm.
Or love magic in a consensual relationship that you have to strengthen the bond. You definitely can do things there, but I will now give you a spell that you can do if you are dating somebody and you're going to cook for them. And I actually talked about this on my TikTok account, but this is
Yeah.
a little tip from Italian folk practitioner.
Love
So
it.
obviously the fastest way to somebody's heart is through their stomach. So you want to cook for them. So
Yeah.
what you can do to add more like passion into your relationship for someone that you're dating or maybe a partner, add basil. Add basil into your cooking. Basil is really good for abundance and especially geared towards love. So if you need to bring some, just simply hold the basil in your hand give your intention of like, I want to bring in more abundance and passion and more communication and love, and put in your cooking, you know, and like you're feeding it to your partner. You know, just, I always like to tell people when there's stuff in my, you know, cooking with the heart and things like that, I always tell them
Yeah.
like, oh, I spelled this for this, you know, I don't ever want to be shady.
Yeah.
Um, but for all my single girlies out there, if you're cooking for someone that you're dating, not only add basil, but add garlic. And the reason why I say add garlic and charge it for protection is because if the person that you serve the food to
Mm-hmm.
decides they no longer want to date you or be with you or disappears and ghosts you, the garlic protected you from a red flag.
Oh, damn.
So I think sometimes we have to leave it up to magic because, like, you know, sometimes my favorite color is red.
We love them red flags.
Sometimes my favorite color be red. So let the garlic do its job and like try not to be upset if like this dude never calls you back again. Just know that your magic protected his, like, make some ziti for him. Say, come over to my house, make some ziti. Throw some garlic in there for your own protection. And if he doesn't call you back ever again, it's not because your cooking was shit. It was because he ain't shit.
Yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt. So that one is safe for people to use. Yes, like I said, just be careful with different types of love magic. Self-love, great. Do all the things.
All of them.
When you're getting to obsession, control, binding, curse tablets, you know, maybe take a practitioner pause.
Yeah, we love those. Take them. Take them.
We do. There's a time and place for everything. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. And, that's why, we often go about, how do the ancients use, what do they use for protection against, magic or anything like that? And, we get up on our soapbox to say about protection, but you best believe people be doing things even with looks in the ancient world too, to make people fall under their love spells.
Oh, I would argue that the evil eye can be its own curse and love spell too.
Yeah. Yes. Seconded.
It was funny because I was just rereading some of my like notes on the Malocchio today, and just the gaze of somebody the ancients believed.
I mean, let me quickly read this spell working to Aphrodite from the Greek magical papyri. Quote, Aphrodite's name, which becomes known to no one quickly, is, I'm not going to give you the name. Nobody's doing this.
No, sorry, we're gatekeeping this shit. I don't even want to know the name.
If you wish to win a woman who is beautiful, be pure for 3 days, make an offering of frankincense, and call upon this name over it. You approach the woman, and you say it 7 times in your soul as you gaze at her.
Oh, God.
And in this way, it will succeed. But do this for 7 days.
So you're just staring at somebody for 7 days, wishing it into will.
Yes.
That's creepy as shit.
Is that ancient manifesting? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we are calling upon somebody, right? They have to kind of carry this out for you, and the goddess or god has to agree to the terms.
And you gave the offering of frankincense, so it is a contract.
If they accept it.
Correct.
That's if they accept it. Not all offerings are accepted.
Otherwise, they'd be getting free frankincense.
I mean, yeah, they're the gods. That's what they do. But kind of like to end this, I want to talk about how do you know that you have a love spell casted on you? And I'm here to tell you from the Italian folk sense. So this one's kind of funny. I was telling Tom about this today.
Yeah.
So one of the first things is to see if you've been casted over, someone casted something on you, period, insects.
Love that.
If you're finding dead bugs in very specific places where you have wards, now listen, a windowsill can attract many dead bugs. So like we kind of have to use our intuition and our divination alongside of this, right?
Our noggins. Gotcha.
Our noggins. All right. Just because you find a dead fly by the windowsill doesn't mean someone has done something crazy. So I got to get this out of the way. But for example, if you find a dead bug on one of your altars, that's in a very specific place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this has happened to me before.
A bug-free place, if you will.
Yeah. A bug-free place where you clean this shit and you see something that's weird. Now, if it's a bug in Italian folk practice, it means an inexperienced magician has cast it on you. So I laugh because I'm like, well, if I find a bug somewhere that I know it's not supposed to be, who was doing this shit?
I find it interesting that it's bugs and insects, but it makes so much sense because you think about like how annoying bugs are especially during the summertime.
Yeah.
And they're always buzzing around in your way and everything.
Yeah, like a gnat or like a fly. Like take note of the bug. Is it an annoying bug? Is it a bottom feeder bug? because that's bottom feeder magic. You know what I'm saying? Someone threw something stupid. So that's one way. Another way in Italian folk practice is dead roses. So if you see dead roses, remember what I said, dreams are huge. Dead roses. Another one, if someone is doing workings against you, curses specifically, which love magic would be considered a curse in its own sense, depending on how you're using it. If you have a dream that you are sitting at a dinner table, and it's just you and you know someone else is there, take note of who is sitting across from you. That is the perpetrator.
Ooh, damn, they really be selling themselves out in that one.
Because they're not breaking bread with you. It's kind of like a Last Supper Judas thing, you know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Yeah. So the whole concept is like they're not there to break bread with you. They're trying to do something shady. So another few things is like really bad migraines. Like you can't stop thinking about somebody that you weren't really interested in to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of losing sense of self. But remember, like normal before the paranormal. Listen, I get migraines sometimes. Period.
Correct.
I'm dehydrated. But those are just a few signs. Starting to act out of character and rash. And notice that you're being drawn to somebody that you haven't really thought about. They might be showing up in your dreams. Some people do that dream magic. You know what I'm saying?
They be walking.
They do dream walking. So it's the wild, wild west out there sometimes with love magic. It gets asked to us all the time. Can we talk about it? I feel like some people start their practice. Some people, I am people, because they are looking for love. I am people. That's why I can sit here and be like, don't you freaking do this. Don't start witchcraft because you think it's going to solve your problems and find you the man of your dreams or a woman or whoever. Don't.
Even ancient magic couldn't get you that.
No. And it got me a whole year of therapy sessions. That's what it got me because I did it wrong. It's not, love magic is not bad or evil. It has its purpose and it's found in a lot of folk practices and other cultures and beliefs. That's another narrative that runs around too of like, you can't do love magic, it's bad. No, you absolutely can. You can.
Yes.
Just find your own moral compass. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Let me check the listener Q&A really quickly. I want to see if we got any questions.
Oh, Miss Ma'am, excuse you.
I want to see what the questions are. Anyway, I just feel like I had to set the record straight about that. But yeah, I'll tell you about the dark side of love magic. That'd be it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always love to watch my students' reactions when we cover love magic and love spells in like the magic and superstition class of my course. And they're always like, wait, why would somebody do this? And it's like, well, let's break down some of these spells. One of them I'm actually going to post on the Instagram. So look out for that. But it is dark. Like,
yeah. The way, I mean, people think Italian folk practitioners like are like, oh, we just use garlic. Like I read some of these spells sometimes on what people are doing, and I'm like, what the fuck? You're taking a lemon into church to curse somebody? That is sacrilegious and awesome.
And we are here for it. We are here for the lemons.
We are here for the lemon curses. But I'm like, damn. The best is you have to throw it on someone's property. They're just chucking lemons at people's houses and like hiding that shit in their home. Like this.
Damn, I should have been paying more attention to who had lemons on their lawns in Italy.
I know next time I go to Italy, I need to see who chucked a lemon at someone's house. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's true. Folk practices, they don't require much. And people can really fuck you up with like the most minuscule things. Like some of these spells I read, I'm like, that I disagree with. Like I
gotta draw the line somewhere.
I'm just here for the basil and the abundance and the protection, man. The evil eye removals.
Yeah.
But some people are hardcore. Okay, so this one I want to answer. Someone asked us if we could talk about cultural appropriation in some of the spells, close practices. I don't think Ted and I would probably be the good candidates to do that. We will try to have more diverse guests on to talk about love magic and close practices because yeah, there are some things I would not be the one. Advice on sweetening spell workings in a relationship.
Like self-love relation, like wait, what? Self-love workings in a relationship or like
no, advice on sweetening spell workings in a relationship. So like what are tools you would use? So I can think of two. Sugar is great when you're trying to sweeten something.
Yes.
Sweeten the deal.
Yes.
Sweeten someone's attitude towards you.
Loss. both white sugar and brown sugar because it has that molasses in it. So you can kind of say it as like that slow burn, but it causes things to like become sticky and sweet.
Honey, when you're trying to attract things, sticky, sweet. Also too, I'll plug our store. We have the Siren spell powder in the store. That is great for sweetening things, attraction, like glamour. But we do like a lot of self-love, glamour, manifestation, attraction workings. I've done a few domination workings, but I've never done anything around control or obsession. I mean, that scares me.
I ain't looking at Kevin for 7 days in a row and saying a sacred name with my eyes. Just
I mean, do you even want that though? Don't you want your peace and your space?
Yes, I do.
You don't want someone obsessed with you. I really I couldn't think of anything worse.
Cue Mariah Carey's "Why Are You So Obsessed With
Yeah,
Me?"
I could not think of anything worse. I like my space. I like my peace. I like my quiet time. Get out of my house. Like that. That's just how I feel. I would never be the one to be doing that kind of shit.
No. Not
so anyway, do you have
not around here, partner?
No. Do you have anything else to add to this episode?
That is everything. I know we will definitely deep dive further into who Aphrodite is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes, we will talk about her war aspects and where that might have come from.
Oh yeah, well, I'm excited because this was just like a base level information of Aphrodite, and we'll do a part 2. We do a part 2 to a lot of the gods, but once again, we have to get the basics down first before we dive into the really, really in depths of who they are. So
we got to learn to swim and hold our breath before we just dive right to the bottom. Okay.
Absolutely. But I really think I'm going to take some of that Adonis festival, and I really would like to try to celebrate it because I am going to have a garden. So I would love to do that. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing. And thank y'all for being here. Weirdly, we were #1 in Bulgaria last week for spiritual podcasts. So shout out to Bulgaria. Whoever's out there in Bulgaria.
I know.
Love you.
You guys still have us all on the top charts around the world, but yeah, an extra special shout out to you, Bulgaria.
Yeah, and Poland. Poland too.
Shout out to you, Poland.
I texted Tenn. I'm like, we're Mr. Worldwide now. Move over, Pitbull. It's now my time. But we all hope you have an amazing, incredible day. And we'll see you next time on the next episodes of Styx and Bones with your ghost host, Chelsea and Tenn. Bye, everybody.
Bye.